How's it going, ladies and Bruce? I'm Bobby Sixkilla. Welcome back to the Divine Deception. It's time for us to jump back into Thane's story, quest, storyline, path, whatever. It's not really Thane. It's pseudo Thane, as you probably well know. We're going to be jumping back and forth between here and here, depending on what keys we get. But let's jump into Act 2 of Thane's storyline. Big blinds. So I decided to replace Thane, hiding his death and keeping myself alive for longer. Cool, good plan. There's one teensy little problem though. I need to find out where the V-Hall actually was. If I didn't know where to show up, I'd be dead in the water from the jump. Luckily I had a lot of Thane's shit. Hopefully I could get something useful out of all that. And if I couldn't, well, let's manifest some positive thinking, why don't we? I already broke into the stolen phone. Not much of use there. Next up with the burner phones. I chose one to try and enter. Unfortunately, it had a password. Oh man! Well, no matter. In this day and age, a password is really more of a warning sign than a roadblock. I hooked the phone up to my laptop and began to get to work. I guess I'll bring you back. Okay. I think I've got it. I think this might be it, but it turns out the reason I wasn't getting it before was one rule that I couldn't get, and it was that the dead cells must form one continuous wall connected by orthogonal tiles. And no 2x2s. I knew the no 2x2s, but that meant this all has to be one thing connected by up and down, left and right connections, no diagonal connections. It's still wrong. How? Let me just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all correct. There's 4 deads and 4 lives are on each of the yellows. 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be right. I've said this many times before. And although there are diagonal joins here and here, there's also orthogonal joins around them. So nothing is cut off. As far as I can tell, there's no 2x2s or anything either. There's no 2x2s, right? I'm not missing that with my stupid eyes. Well, once again, we are skipping, but I'm calling that good. Looks good to me. If you're the developer, let me know how it's not good. Skip. Voila! Here we go. I spent some time browsing the phone. The most important information to learn was the address of the V-Hall. Since I was already in the phone's code, it was hard to access the locations this phone frequently visited. Cross-referencing that with some past texts, I was able to get an address. Lucky me! Going through the rest of the phone, I read through and subsequently memorized as much information as I could. This has only given me a partial picture, but at least I had something of a cheat sheet for Thane's life. I had some building blocks as they were. I wanted to look through a lot more than I did, but Yi said I needed to get to the V-Hall ASAP, and I already wasted a lot of time. There was one thing, however, that brought me a great deal of unease. In the contacts page, Thane named this phone Duet Burner Phone. So then, if this was the Duet Burner Phone, what was the other phone? For personal use? Well, you didn't really need a burner phone for personal stuff. I mean, maybe you're super paranoid about privacy? That could be Thane. This could be nothing to worry about. But again, why would you bring your personal contact phone in your assassin's briefcase? Maybe I was overthinking things. Or maybe the other burner phone was important. I wanted to crack that other phone, but again, time crunch. So, going to my first duet meeting. What did I want to bring? Something told me bringing the full silver suitcase to something like this was the wrong approach. Or maybe it wasn't. Was Thane the type never go anywhere without a suitcase? I couldn't tell. So in that case, what could I talk my way out of? If Thane used his suitcase, it'd be easy to explain why he doesn't have it. If he usually doesn't have it, bringing it to the V-Hall is going to be a really, really bad idea. So the suitcase was out. But what about a pistol? That felt reasonable to bring. Or maybe not. Like the suitcase, bringing weapons might be taboo. Besides, I wasn't exactly a pro marksman. There was a question of how useful a pistol would actually be to me. If I had to use it, it'd probably already be too late. But just having a gun afforded me options. The threat of it, and all. And again, maybe it'd be weird for Thane to be without a gun. Ultimately, I used the same decision-making process as I did with the suitcase. Easier to explain a lack of a gun than the presence of one. So I was going to the belly of the beast completely unarmed, with only a quarter of the knowledge needed to pull off a successful disguise. Awesome. Well, better rip off the bandage. I made my way over to the V-Hall. I exited the hotel my usual way, out the storage closet down into the sewer. I made my way through the sewers to the other side of the city. The V-Hall, from what I could tell, used to be a production facility. That is, until it was purchased by a limbo and then let go. The actual owner of the land was in limbo, but through some circumstances the Duets owned it. Now the actual machinery that went with it had been disposed of, and it served as the Duets' central lair for some time. This was some pretty good info. Not super key info, mind you. This is where members hung out, so naturally it was a little too conspicuous to keep anything truly damning. But still, in terms of understanding the layout of Panthea, it was a good place to tuck away. I tried to walk through the sewer with some amount of urgency. I was still too sore to break into a full sprint. However, I hadn't yet figured out where Thane usually lived, so I didn't know how long it would be reasonable for Thane to take. Eventually I got close enough to the location. I climbed out of the sewer and walked the last bit above ground. There, that building must be the V-Hall. From the outside it looked pretty run down. Probably the intent, huh? Help keep a low profile? Alright, no turning back now. I approached the building with a sense of confidence. I was Thane after all. Nothing in this building should give me any pause. I was a senior officer. I went right up to the front entrance and opened the door. Not locked, huh? Well, the guard standing right by the door probably had something to do with that. Also, it's not like anybody would be stupid enough to enter a place like this if you weren't to do it yourself. Wait. Hey, Thane. Been a minute. Before me was a leather jacket-clad Duet member. A grunt if I was placing him right, accustomed to frontline work. I didn't know the guy's name, so I simply nodded. It seemed to pass for him. Thank God Thane was the way he was. Playing a sullen-type character really was a lot easier. Alright then, just to be sure, what's the password? Man, what's with people asking regulars to give passwords? Actually, considering I was hiding my face, it was probably fair in my case. Luckily, this is one piece of info I had actually gleaned. Fortunate for me, the password changed pretty recently. Worried about leaks. Ha! To speak the name of the dead is to make them live again. Cool, cool. I had to say, it was a pretty wordy password phrase. I didn't quite get the purpose behind it. Apparently, it had been assigned by Marduk. Maybe that'd give me some insight into his mind. Though if it did, I couldn't define it. So now I'm afraid I gotta pat you down. Put your hands up and your arms out if you please. Fine. I feigned annoyance as I complied, but honestly, the only thing that passed through my mind was relief. I'd made the right call. Had I a pistol on me right now, things would have been a lot more awkward. As I was being examined, I got a better look at the inside of the facility. It's pretty big, all things considered. This is an open-air area with a lot of members congregated. In a previous life, I guess this was a factory area. Along the walls, a number of doors and hallways to other sections of the facility lined the walls, and there I saw a familiar face. Yi approached me with a smile on his face. Here we go. Thane, good to see you, good to see you. So, what are you doing, letting this scrub pat you down like this? Huh? Senior officers are exempt from body checks, dipshit. Thane, why'd you subject yourself to that? Fuck. Seriously, Leatherjack, you had to do me like this? You had to fuck up in a way that would out me? I'd just gone through the door and already I couldn't catch a break. Fuck me, seriously, just fuck me. I was waiting to see if this one would catch onto it himself. I said that with as much menace as I could muster. I need to lean on one of Thane's biggest advantages, his threatening aura. It seemed to work on this punk at least. Sorry sir. I wasn't really thinking. See, I don't usually have guard duty, so is that your excuse? Yeah, he looked at me, and then the grunt before me, and then back to me with a slight smile on his face. I'll give the kid a break, Thane. I'm sure he gets the picture. Right, pal? He gave the leather jacket a friendly punch on the shoulder. Of course, totally. I'll let the silence linger for a second longer. Don't do it again. And like that, I began to walk into the lion's den. He casually strode beside me. Hopefully that bluster had successfully gotten the heat off me. Ah, Thane, why do you always have to pick on the tykes like that? Did I? Awesome. Are you really that much of a sadist? Just do it for kicks? I merely shrugged. The problem I had right now I wasn't quite sure how to approach Yi. I hadn't quite pegged their relationship. In theory, they were both senior officers, so then, were they colleagues? There was more to it than that, though. I need to pick up on Yi's vibes to understand how to proceed. A shrug was non-committal enough that it wouldn't get me in any hot water. So what took you so long getting here? Are you falling in the toilet or something? So I guess I was late. Had to be expected, I suppose. It did take a while, but I must not have been too late. You caught me at a bad time. I got here before the meeting began, didn't I? Ah, you got me there. Good, so you didn't feel like pushing the issue. That's a good sign for me. Another person walked over to Yi, you know. It was a woman with red hair and glasses. Hey Yi, Thane. How you two on this lovely day? Lara? I'm doing just fine, got a good night's sleep. We love that. Great to hear. And you, Thane? I'm fine. Good, 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 good. At first glance, things seemed to be fine. However, Lara was very good at hiding her true intent. I was pretty good at reading body language, and it was clear that Lara was extremely uneasy about Thane. She didn't want to bring it up, but something about him made her nervous. Yeah, but this must be after the Mercury guy killed Thane, right? So that was after Mercury and her were on the boat trying to be murdered by Thane. So that makes sense. I thought back. Ah yes, of course. I actually knew why Lara was nervous around Thane. Well, all the better for me. Nervous people were less likely to push the issue. Do anything interesting this weekend, Lara? Ah, if only. I'm too boring to do much, unfortunately. I fall into regular patterns. I feel you there, sister. Nowadays, I'm more and more inclined to curl up at home with a good book. I feel like I'm becoming an old man. What about you, Thane? I didn't do anything worth talking about. Yeah, that figures. So what do you guys think this meeting's going to be about? Marduk's really hard to get a beat on. Ah, well. Why speculate when we're going to have the meeting in a few minutes anyway? I'd actually like to speculate, yeah. If I knew what I was getting into, I could better prepare. Because it's fun, silly. Just trying to make conversation. I suppose. My problem is that it's not like we have much to go on. Marduk's always been a man of whims, even more so these days. For all we know, he could have called us here on a random impulse. You know, I actually like that in a man. Someone willing to do what they want, when they want. This is the sort of confidence fitting for our head. Hey, don't get me wrong, far be it from me to question our supreme leader. Just saying that guessing what the meeting's about is going to be hard. There aren't exactly any recent events worth discussing, so failing that, it could really be anything. That's so. No recent events worth discussing, you think? Nothing comes to mind. Anything come to yours, Lara? No, can't say that anything does, unfortunately. At this point, the other two Duat members walked over. Hey, Lara, how's it going? Did everything work out with your apartment? Oh, hey guys. My apartment's fine, but thanks for asking. Really, I was just bitching about nothing problems. You don't have to worry about that. What about you two? Have you gone to see your sister yet? Not yet, I'm afraid. What? Why? Afraid she's gonna be mad at us. Seriously? You two did all the work paying for her surgery. She'll be thrilled to see you. And even if she's really mad about how you got that money, it's still worth just going down there and hashing it out in person. You're right. As always. Look, we try to head down there whenever we get some free time. That's the spirit. The burly men then took a second to look around at Yi and me. So what are you doing hanging around with these two? Oh, well, old man Yi was asking for my help. I was teaching him how to set up his iPhone. The lack of buttons confuses him. The others snickered pretty heavily at this. Yi, on the other hand, strained to keep a grinning face. Do these guys have a different metric for burns, or...? Oh, Lara, you. If you spent less time working on your stand-up and more time working for the duets, you wouldn't have to get on your knees to stay a senior officer. Begging isn't a pretty look. Oh, but Yi, if I did more of your work, what would you have to lecture the rest of us about? More snickers. Different sense of humour, I guess. At that moment, a tall, lumbering figure walked into the room. I didn't think much of it at the time, but instantly when he entered, everybody else shut up. At first I thought that was because this guy must have a high rank. However, after analysing the situation a few seconds more, I realised that the real reason why his presence brought the conversation to a halt. This man had come from the conspicuously prestigious-looking door along the wall of this open area. Unlike all the other doors and rooms in this place, where I saw people coming and going from them, this one had been completely devoid of visitors so far. I could make an educated guess as to what the room was. It was the office of the head of this whole operation. Marduk's room. The next words spoken confirmed my suspicions. Marduk's ready for you. Fang directed this comment at the three of us. The senior officers. Ugh. I had a feeling things were getting a bit too chummy around here. Better not keep old Marduk waiting. Definitely won't want to keep him waiting. He can be such a hassle when he's in a grumpy mood. Oh well, might as well get this over with. He's hoping today's meeting will be painless. That makes two of us, Yi. Doubt it. Oh, why are you two always such Debbie Downers? Meaning the boss isn't supposed to be a bad thing. At least you've been doing your job properly. Oh? If that's the case, why do you look so chipper? Lara let out a little chuckle. Oh, Yi. You're always such a tease. That's me, alright. Real jokester. As much as I dreaded entering that office, the real Thane would probably say something along the lines of, did we not just talk about not keeping Marduk waiting? Yeah, we're getting to it, Thane. Jeez, always so edgy with the whole Marduk situation. Totally. Thane, you should really learn to lighten up. You should go for drinks sometime. I know a super cool place, one of our operations. Didn't that den run into a spot of trouble recently? Oh, that was nothing, it's back on its feet already. Let's meet with Marduk first. Afterwards we can discuss future plans if you like. Got it. And with that prompting, we finally began making our way to Marduk's office. I didn't know what to expect going in. Honestly, I didn't expect to get this far. Things have been going pretty well so far, but so far, I was just coasting along on the easier stuff. Things I had some idea on how to tackle. But a meeting with Marduk, what was Marduk even like? How much did he know? What was Thane's connection with Marduk like? I knew some things about Marduk, some things most people didn't even know, but nothing that felt like it would help me in this situation. More importantly, it was the nature of the meeting that frightened me. It wouldn't be for conversation, it would be for business. Business discussions tended to be details heavy. Details are the last thing I was looking for right now. Whatever, I just have to bullshit my way through this. Play to my strengths. I got this far, hadn't I? Into the room I went. Marduk's office was nice. It was quite nice. There were several desks displaying a variety of neat knickknacks. In the corner, a big potted plant grew. On the left wall, there were these windows which let blue light pour into the room, which was otherwise unlit. The only lighting being faint natural light, created an odd but not unpleasant atmosphere. In the center of the room, there were two couches with a small glass table separating the two of them. One was completely empty, and the other, Marduk sat down. So there he was. The head of the duets. He doesn't look like what I expected him to look like. Honestly, because his name's Marduk, I expected him to look like the character from Tekken. And he doesn't. I'm disappointed. He certainly had an aura about him. I could tell by the age in his face he was well past his prime. If I had to guess, well, I didn't have to guess, he was deceptively old. But I say deceptively because he honestly looked pretty good. Sure, he was bald, but his sideburns didn't have a single white hair in them. I guess he was dyeing them if I didn't know the man's character better than that. He still possesses a hulking figure, enough to exude clear dominance. His arms were the size of logs of wood. If you stood him side to side with Fang, he wouldn't look that much shorter or frailer than the behemoth. Who knows how intimidating this guy was in his prime. This is the man who could lead the duets with an iron fist. Who could lead them through multiple gang wars, who could lead them to complete Panthean control. This was a man who could still be the undisputable kingpin after being so far past his prime. Instantly, I was struck by the same feeling of awe that every other duet member felt. Without moving a singular muscle, Marduk spoke to us in a low growl. Took you long enough. Sorry, sir, we were a little busy dealing with some of your troops. So, the grunts are more worthy of your time than me? Of course not, we tried to get here as fast as we reasonably could. But obviously it's important to keep the will of the people on our side. Wouldn't want to be dismissive of them. Very good. The smile on Lara's face took a slightly pointed look. Clearly in her mind she just scored points against Yi. Sit. He didn't need to tell us twice. Yi sat on the far left couch. Lara let me pass by her before sitting down. She must have wanted me to be a buffer between her and Yi. Lara? Yes, sir. How are you faring these days? Me? Doing just peachy, sir. Living life to the fullest. A slight smile crossed Marduk's face. Good, good. Youth is a time to be lived to its fullest. How are you spending your free time? Ah, well, there's so many vices to choose from, sir. A little gambling here, a little drinking there. Of course, all in healthy moderation. Naturally. And naturally, none of this has distracted you from your duet work. Not at all, sir. True proficiency has never been as high, thanks to yours truly. Ah, good to hear. How do you do it, I wonder? Oh, that? Yeah, who wouldn't want to live a life of violence and degeneracy? Really, the work sells itself. At this, Marduk let out a little chuckle. I'm sure you have your ways, and I'm happy to provide them. If you want, I could even motivate Thane for you. Suddenly, Marduk's expression turned sour. And what, pray tell, do you mean by that? Even without directly looking at her, I noticed the freeze in Lara's face. The realization that in her playful manner she'd accidentally stepped on a landmine of some kind. However, like a professional, she only stayed frozen for a second. Well, you know, just trying to help her out around. Thane can be, well, a little robotic in nature, sir. Right, Thane? Lara playfully punched me on the shoulder. I just stayed silent. Not getting involved in this one. So I was just offering to try and make him a bit more enthusiastic. This response had not impressed Marduk. Given the nature of this job, I would imagine a certain amount of gravitas is healthy. If anything, it is you, Lara, and your seemingly upbeat attitude I was sooner having called into question. Yes, of course, sir. Lara was now full on looking directly down, unable to maintain eye contact. Marduk, however, felt content to keep staring at Lara for a couple more seconds. Then, like a predator after his next prey, his attention turned to Yi. Yi. Yes, sir? I could hear a tint of optimism in Yi's response. Clearly, Lara's blunder there had filled him with confidence. How are the duets looking? They've never been better, sir. In these last 2 months, we've seen a 13% increase in revenue, which, as I'm sure you know, is pretty much unheard of. We have minimal complaints and have yet to run into any significant issues since our last meeting. Except, of course, the Milo situation. Well, yes, that was a minor setback, but as you know, We dealt with the situation, I would say, with grace and aplomb. And later, today even, we'll be putting a close on the whole thing. See to it that you handle things delicately. Of course, sir. Speaking of issues, I also heard whispers of a gathering of locals discontent with our organisation not too long ago. He paused, a slightly confused look plastered on his face. If I had to guess, he might have been wondering how Marduk even knew about this gathering in the first place. There was a slight kerfuffle, yes, but I dealt with the matter appropriately. I don't think it worth bringing to your attention. Just because you dealt with it, Yi, does not mean the situation is dealt with. It means we are reaching a critical mass of bad will with the civilians, and you know what that means. Sir, if you would, I think you might be focusing on the wrong things. Yes, there are a few hiccups, but there are comparatively fewer issues than there were in the past despite our increased presence. This is an achievement to be celebrated. We have raked in an incredible amount of cash. I've already begun making preparations for our next wash, and it's only been a year and a half. Wait, the duets only wash their money every few years? And in singular bulks? Speaking of cash influx, I have 3 new proposals for new revenue streams I'd like to get your approval on, whenever we have the chance. As for risk assessment, we still have our police contact, so that angle is covered. This one's been far more cooperative than the last, and more effective. Our intelligence network has yet to report any significant threat to the duets. Recruitment numbers haven't been this high in decades. We're on an upward swing, sir. After Yi's pitch, Marduk let the silence linger for a couple of seconds. Very well then, keep up the good work. I could almost hear an audible sigh from Yi. Finally, Marduk turned to me. Ah, fuck. My turn. I was fearing this. Thane. There was a coldness in Marduk's voice. Have you been doing your duties appropriately? Yes. Yes? A flare of indignation in Marduk's voice instantly let me know how I'd fucked up. Yes, sir. Of course, sir. Marduk's stare was hardened. It looked like he might break into a tirade before long, so I did something that felt incredibly counterintuitive. I kept talking. All tasks assigned to me have been completed with total success. I performed all my duties to perfect satisfaction. Additionally, I've also spent my off time performing additional activities beneficial to our cause. I have no outstanding incidents to report. I had fucking no idea if that would pass. I was really just going for it there. Good. Thank God. So, Thane, are you going to ask to be relieved of the black mask? Huh? What did that mean? I had to read between the lines quickly. Thinking about it for a minute, the icon of the black mask was a pretty risky proposition. It was a visible sign of being one of the duet's most feared enforcers. It was the type of position that probably wouldn't be envied, and it was weird for such a high-ranking member to take such a risk, especially when, functionally speaking, anyone could don the outfit. Given the tone Marduk had asked the question, no. The brief look of surprise on Marduk's face told me I was going down the right path. I believe there aren't many duet members who could perform the black mask duties as efficiently as me. Additionally, I wish to earn being relieved of the black mask. As of now, I don't think I have. A silence lingered in the air. Shit, had I said too much? Every second Marduk didn't respond, my heart dropped an inch. Good. Very good. I was worried you weren't ever going to understand. However, it seems like you've finally come around. Yi, is Thane correct in his self-assessment? How's he been performing? I think Thane was pretty much right on the money. As far as I've seen, he's been doing his job pretty much perfectly. Marduk nodded at this solemnly. Well then, keep it up, Thane. You know, there was a time when you were set to inherit the duets. I earnestly hoped that before I passed, you could reclaim that right. Thank you, sir. I hesitated saying this because I was keenly aware of the looks I'd just been given by both Lara and Yi. Neither of them had been pleasant. But that wasn't my biggest concern at the moment, because a pretty horrid thought just crossed my mind. Thane was defined by the black mask and the outfit, which meant that theoretically multiple people could don the getup and pass for Thane. Hell, that's what I was doing. If that's the case, who's to say I actually killed the real Thane? I mean, by the sound of it, Marduk and Thane being the sole owner of the mask. But also by the sounds of it, it seemed as though Thane was not a fan of this arrangement. He was a senior officer. Fuck, I had no idea what he really looked like. That man I buried, that was definitely Thane, right? No, I was just delving into conspiracy theories. I was fine. I killed the real Thane. They were definitely dead and buried in that forest. If I thought otherwise, I'd drive myself insane. And he was a very efficient killing machine. As I worried over this, Marduk stood up. He'd begun to pace, making his way to the windows. Since I've been doing less frontline work, I've had a lot of time to think about things. Bigger things. I know plenty of people are criticizing how the duets have been acting of late. They say we've been too brutal, too ambitious. Those people are like total idiots. They don't get anything. They're completely worthless. If I hear any talks like that, you can count on me to set them straight, sir. I'm talking now. When I want your input, I'll ask for it. Lara and Yi both winced. Something told me that being the silent type was a pretty big boon in this meeting. These people have a point. We're in an age of an unprecedented expansionism. But there's a reason for that. I've led the Duets for a long time now. Been with them through 2 full-on gang wars, and a minor civil one. I've been through highs and painful lows. One's low enough to almost break the Duets outright, and throughout it all, I've learned a single important truth. Tides rise and tides fall. Success can be temporary. You never know when the next storm will come and how much damage it will do. Marduk had returned to the couch and sat back down. But there's another truth. Power begets power. And there's a critical mass, one we're close to. If the Duets get big enough, then no matter what comes, we will stand strong. We're already almost there. This push I've been spearheading, it's not mindless. The brutality we're seeing is temporary. The bleeding will stop, and when it is finished, the Duets will be reforged. Our house will be made out of bricks, as it were. Never to topple again. I do this not out of some vain sense of legacy, nor a selfish greed. It is because the Duets must stand strong. They are important. They're important to every dumb kid without a chance in life, doomed to poverty. They're important to every person who's made mistakes and has nowhere else to go. In this world, there are a few key ways in which you can succeed traditionally. If you're lucky enough to be born wealthy, or born with a natural intellect, or in rare cases, stunning beauty, you can get ahead. But failing that, you're doomed. That is the Duets' most fundamental purpose. To be another way to gain power. Traditional society may not value strength or brutality, but that's because traditional society doesn't reward it. I say the path of riches should be open to all. The Duets must be that path to those afforded no other ones. And so the path must stay strong. So too must the Duets. And for the Duets to weather whatever storm comes, they must have complete control. Complete power. So then how should we do it? At this, Marduk paused. Excuse me, sir? I'm asking you, my senior officers, highest rank members. We've been ambitious up till now, but we're not there yet. Let us strike while the iron is hot. How would you propose we increase our power? Marduk let this question linger in the air. Clearly it was a very important one to Marduk, and given the right answer was very important to the others. He was the first to speak up. Well, sir, no man can buy back his past, but he can surely buy his future. It is an ironclad rule that under the capitalistic rule, money is the purest form of power. If you were to ask me, the best way to secure Duet rule is to continue with what we've been doing. Increase our revenue. As I mentioned, I already have a few proposals for this that I think you'd be interested in. Eventually, if we keep raking in more and more, we'll have enough raw cash to move mountains. In my opinion, the strongest walls are made of dollar bills. So your answer is to simply continue how we are. The path to unbreakable power is incremental change. Such a response is utterly lacking in the drive needed to truly bend this city to our will. And just like that, Marduk rebuffed Yi completely. Hoping to take advantage of Yi's failure, Lara pitched an idea of her own. As you've so intelligently pointed out, sir, we've already got money. We should be looking for a way that what we don't have. And right now, that's the people's support. You know what it also has complete control? The government. History class always taught me that governments get the power from the consent of the people. I think if we spend a little more of our cash back on the community in some key places, that'd go a long way. I believe in the power of the people. So your plan would have us seek approval of the masses. Naive. A true gang can never really receive widespread support from civilians. Not true support, the type that matters. The people's respect is difficult to capture and harder still to utilize. The people's fear, on the other hand, is far more reliable. It seemed as though Lara's pitch was also something of a swing and a miss. Oh well, Lara, you did your best. With all eyes on me, I realized I was the last to offer my opinion. Ah, shit. I should have been thinking about this while the others went, shouldn't I have? Well, whatever. I just need a good enough proposal. We should stay the course. Excuse me? Power is useful, nobody denies that. However, power attracts envy. It attracts enemies. If we did achieve true dominance, it might help us from the threats of the past, but it would attract entirely new threats, ones that we could not handle so easily. We should shore up our defenses, sure, but to keep expanding so recklessly, it only invites someone to dethrone us. And if somebody does come, threatening the Duets, we will break their noses and throw them in the dirt, like we do to all our enemies. True power is the ability to resist the jealous and hateful. To strive for less, in fear of the problems it may bring, is simple cowardice. Plain and simple. Well, that could have gone better. I would have been feeling pretty shitty right now had Marduk not rebuffed Yi and Lara's ideas as well. Seemed like we would all failed whatever test Marduk was presenting before us. Marduk sighed deeply, putting his head in his hands. He was not happy with this result. Of course you all can't see the true vision. Then Marduk lifted up his head and rolled his neck. There is only one person who truly understands my will, and they aren't in this room. That's the guy who used to be governor. Who got arrested by his chief of police. At this, Yi and Lara both tensed up until Marduk continued. The fact that they will not join the duets is a tragedy. Instead, I'm left with a lot of you. As I grow weaker and feebler, all I build up will fall into the hands of one of you. Can any of you truly hold such a burden? Will you be able to live up to the great expectations thrust upon you? Ha! I doubt it. None of us knew how to respond to this. We all avoided Marduk's gaze. Jeez. It wasn't even a duet and I was feeling pretty dejected by Marduk. This is how he treated his senior officers? Part of me was surprised there hadn't been a mutiny, although a part of me understood completely. Marduk spoke and moved with such an air of superiority that even I wanted nothing but his approval. Marduk let out a long sigh. Every day that I move closer to my death, I look back and miss the days that have passed me by. How I long for those older days, back when I was still in action. I still remember my tenure as a serpent with pristine clarity. When I was powerful, when I could do things for myself, when I was building something. Nowadays I build and build and build this group more and more, and yet it's never enough. I fear it won't be enough, not before I go. And all I get for my efforts is spite and vitriol from others. This was awkward. None of us really knew quite what to say to Marduk at this point. We just had to sit there until he was ready to let us go. It reminded me of being reprimanded by my parents. Wasn't a good reminder. However, at this point Marduk looked at us and realized this listless ranting wasn't exactly going anywhere productive. He let out a final sigh and then switched gears. This isn't the time for such words. They should be reserved for a deathbed, and I certainly have few more strong years within me. You all look dejected, disheartened that you failed to gain my approval. Well, there's nobody to blame for that but yourselves. If you wish to remedy the situation, then I have a simple command for you. Be better. Be better? A very simple sentiment, and yet I can feel the force behind those words. He wasn't just saying that lightly. None of you are senior officers haphazardly. You all have greatness within you, I can sense it. I can very well see any one of you becoming someone worthy of succeeding the duets. I hope to someday become that person, sir. Agreed, I'll be sure to keep striving to be a more worthy leader, just like you strive to improve the duets. I decided to stay silent for now. Very well then. I just called you here to check in on you. We should have more regular meetings of the senior officers. Please don't. For now, just continue as you are. Yeah, we can discuss those proposals of yours for additional revenue streams at some later date. Knowing you, I'm sure they'll be fine, but I still want to look them over. Of course, sir. Then there was an awkward pause. After a few moments, Marduk spoke up once more. You were all dismissed. With this, he waved his fingers outwards. We didn't need to be told twice. Yi, Lara, and I got to our feet and began to leave the office. That could have gone better. For Thane, that is. What did this mean for me? Specifically in terms of the whole getting away from the duets angle of things. Hard to say. Clearly there was a struggle over who would inherit the leadership of the duets. I could surmise Thane at one point was in the lead, but for some reason messed up massively and is now in last place. However, Marduk still wants on some level Thane to succeed him. I guess. At the end there, it felt like he thought nobody would be truly fitting to succeed him. And to some extent I had to agree. I mean, fuck the duets and all. But as far as I could tell, neither Lara nor Yi really carried Marduk's will with them. If either took charge of the gang, it would undoubtedly go a drastically different direction. And if Thane took charge? Let's not consider that. Although, on that note, what would happen if Marduk happened to die in the near future? Did he have some sort of will proclaiming who should succeed him? If there was such a thing, would it even be acknowledged by the others? No doubt if Marduk made a decision so they publicly passed the headship of the duets to one of the senior officers in front of everybody, the others would just have to grind their teeth and accept it. But a will? Oh, here's a scarier thought. What if there wasn't something like that? Would it just evolve into straight up civil war? It seemed possible enough, and part of me wondered if its ambiguity was intentional on Marduk's part. If the fate of the duets was in the air, undecided, it would be difficult for any particularly ambitious figures to try and speed up the process. As we exited the room, Yi draped his arm over my shoulder. Then in a low voice he spoke. Oh, don't let him get you down. Too down, Thane. He'll keel over and die soon enough. And with that, he steered our walking to a nearby room at the side of the wall. I noticed Lara giving us a side-eye look as we walked this direction. However, she didn't say anything, which meant I had no excuse. I had to walk with Yi right on over to this unknown door. Entering, I was instantly awash in a completely different vibe from Marduk's office. There were maybe 5 lamps still around, each completely superfluous. Draped around the ceiling with some Christmas lights. Whether they were still up out of laziness or a deliberate aesthetic, I couldn't tell. In the center of the room was a wooden table with a couple of knocked over beer cans and poker chips atop it. Surrounding said table was a couch, far far dirtier than Marduk's alongside a few chairs and a beanbag couch. On the other side of the room I saw a pinball machine sitting right next to a couple of familiar arcade cabinets. I also spotted a pool table at the back of the room. Atop it was an out-of-place gold-flecked vase. Sitting next to the door we had just entered was a tiny mini-fridge with a microwave haphazardly lying atop it. I knew what this was. This is a bona fide man cave. Guess even violent gangs had hangout spots like this. There were 3 other men already inside the room. The previously seen Goliath, a heavyset man with a horrible fashion sense, and the younger guy wearing far too much denim. So Yi, how was the meeting? About what could be expected? The she-bitch was Frenching the boss's ass. Meanwhile, Marduk proved his growing senility. This one kind of took the cake though. Towards the end, I legitimately thought he was in a different time zone. I almost felt bad for him. The elderly's loss of reality is truly a horrifying prospect. Apparently not that horrifying if you're willing to joke about it like this. Wow. Must have been bad for you to feel bad for the old man, huh? Almost, yeah. I said almost. Was anything of use accomplished in this meeting? If anything of use was accomplished, Fang, I would have said so, okay? As a matter of fact, he just came to talk shit. Asked for our ideas that explained duet presence and then dismissed all our ideas out of hand. I mean, Lara was pretty stupid and Thane's non-committal, so I understood dismissing those two. But his only response to my proposal was that it wasn't thinking big enough. The fuck am I supposed to say to that? You didn't even get around to hearing my proposals. Not your precious proposals. Oh geez, what are you going to do about your frickin' proposals? We're really in trouble now. The two snickered to themselves. You two having fun over there? Done mocking the guy actually getting shit done? Oh, come off it, Yi. We're just having a bit of a laugh. You have to admit, you got a bit of a stick up your ass about these plans. Hey, well, yeah, well. You guys gonna make fun of me for having a stick up my ass when Duet Bot 3000 is sitting right here? He thumbed over at me. For my part, I just stayed silent. Yeah, that's no fun. Yeah, Thane never reacts to shit. Kinda sucks the fun out of making fun of him, you get it? So sorry about that. Oh, sarcasm! Yeah, right, I must have gotten an update. That metaphor doesn't make sense. Ah, that's more like it. Fang turned to Yi, trying to keep the conversation on track. Even if nothing of much substance was discussed, it was still a meeting of the senior officers. These are far from meaningless. How's the war progressing? At this, Yi took a long pause. He seemed to seriously be weighing the question. Well, a wash? Lara's ass-kissing definitely backfired a time or two, but if I'm being honest, I don't think I was exactly killing it in the old man's eyes either. Honestly, if it wasn't for his last answer, I would have said Thane was the one who got the most out of it today. Shia finished with the beer that he was drinking, threw his can at the nearby trash can. He missed and the can bounced off to lie with a half-dozen other misses. Are we gonna have to start seriously wondering what we're gonna do if Lara gets the Duat leadership? Because if that happens, we're all sort of fucked. Oh please, there's no need to be scared about something that won't happen. Worry often gives a small thing a big shadow. Sure, the she-bitch might be a bit more popular with the grunts, but even without half his wits, Marduk still doesn't respect shallow shit like that. He has, and will always prioritize results. He knows who brings him his cash. He knows who serves him the best. Then Yi punched me on the shoulder. And besides, it's 2-on-1. The girl ain't got a chance in hell. The little speech elicited some cheering from Zouchi and Shia. However, it just brought me some concern. I don't know whether or not Yi meant it to be explicit, but I saw the look he gave me back in Marduk's office. He didn't want to stop Lara from claiming the Duat headship. He wanted the headship. Could I really trust Yi? Well, from everything I could tell, the real Thane trusted Yi. So I guess I had to follow suit with that. So, gentlemen, how have you been? What's been going on in your rich personal lives? Not much for me. G is acting more of a dipshit than usual. We got in a fight recently. You two in a fight? You don't say. Shia shot Zouchi a dirty look. Yeah, well, she sent me a text earlier this morning saying that she was going to be blowing off work because she didn't want to see me. Seriously? She's just gonna not do Duat work? That's a fucking weird sentence. Ah, forget her. She's a major buzzkill anyway. I'm sure she'll get over herself before too long. What about you, Zouchi? How have you been? Not great, Yi. Not great indeed. I spent the weekend trying to get some action. I'm sad to say it was to no avail. You don't say. It's the whole Duat thing. Women say they're like bad boys, but that only goes so far. Yeah, definitely the Duat thing holding you back. Excuse me? What exactly are you trying to say, buddy? Whoa, whoa, easy there, Zhao. She is just trying to get under your skin. Hate on my fashion style all you want, pal. We'll see who history favors. Fang, how have you been? How's your life been? Uneventful. I've been working on my latest piece. It's almost finished. Really? I'd love to see it when you're done. What do you even do sculpting, Fang? I can't imagine you got space for it in your apartment. I got my ways. No, okay, man, just asking a simple question. Don't need to get all ominous about it. That's Fang's way, Share. You gotta respect it. Finally, he turned over to me. So then, what about you, Thane? How have you been spending your free time? A personal question. Great. I couldn't be asked to be clever. Just gonna take the easy way out. Take a guess. Oh, fuck off. You don't ever take you know fun thing? Yes. You. Ha! You got me there, bud. You gave me a friendly pat on the shoulder. Well, whatever you've been doing, hope it hasn't been too exhausting. Because tonight, we're dealing with that Milo problem. And we need you in top form for that. Oh, awesome. Forget meetings, I have to tag along for an actual duet mission. Couldn't wait. Taking a ride on the crime side, it seems. I like it, I'm digging it. I think I just have a soft spot for everything that doesn't toe the societal line. There's power in numbers that can manifest in rather awful ways. Step out of line, you lose out on that power. And if the majority thinks that they're losing power, that you're a threat? Oh boy, watch out, bucko. It's a sad state of affairs and we need to change it. Minorities, revolutionaries, murderers, all equally oppressed, looked down on by the world. Really makes you think. Society, huh? Crazy stuff. Okay, I admit this might not be the most salient point. Between you and me, I forgot that I had to prepare a little conversation for when the scene ended, so I just kind of been winging it. But there's something in there, I think. A good point buried in the rough. Oh well, life goes on. And no new keys, so we're jumping into Act 3 in the next episode. That was a long-ass one. Well, I don't know how long it'll be once I cut out that puzzle that I failed. But I've been recording for over an hour, so I feel like it's going to be reasonably long. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking out for me, and I'll see you in the next one.